How's it going, guys? So I just thought I'd quickly run through a GBP USD trade that I had on a couple of weeks ago. Unfortunately, it hit a stop loss. The main reason for that was that the stop loss was actually too tight. So I'm just going to run through this trade and why I took this trade and where my error came in, and hopefully you can learn something from it. So I'm quickly going to first just go through the weekly time frame. I always start on higher time frames when explaining my trades or trying to understand why I'm going to take a certain trade. So first of all, you can clearly see that the bears are in control. As we move down and continue the downtrend, we eventually hit an equal low in and around this region from the 13th of May candle to the 1st of July or the 24th of June, in around that area anyway. You can clearly see we hit support and we are currently accumulating orders at this region. However, due to the negative outlook on the pound, we did not see this support hold up. So my bias was a continuation to the downside. So this is basically where the start of the trade, basically the bias of the start of the trade begins. So essentially you're looking for sells just due to the fact that the support was not held, and then clearly the pound was looking weak due to poor Brexit news. So as we move from the weekly time frame to the daily time frame, I'm just going to show you why I decided to continue with my bias of sells. As you can clearly see, we're still in a downtrend. We're forming a nice downtrend here as price goes from lower highs to lower lows. This, however, is actually a corrective phase, which may seem confusing as corrective phases usually tend to go in the opposite direction of the trend for then another impulse leg down the way. However, this is still possible to have a corrective phase like this as I'm mapping out with these arrows. This is still possible to have a corrective phase down the way in a downtrending market. Because you're obviously the main moves you're looking for are the legs down. However, corrective phase down the way and then another down leg is still possible. It's just kind of complex and confusing, so I won't go into too much detail just now. So this is why my bias was confirmed even further, essentially, as a sell position. So as you can see, lower highs and lower lows are being formed. So I'll now head over to the 4 hour to show you why I took an entry at where I did and why I made a mistake on that particular entry and stop loss. So as we move over to the 4 hour time frame, I've quickly mapped out the risk reward and basically my entry, stop loss and original take profit. So as you can see, it's a 5.2 to 1 risk reward. I'll see that there. As you can see, 5.19, 5.2. So essentially that was the risk reward on this trade. I think I was a little bit greedy, and it's probably why I got stopped out a little bit early. Realistically, my stop loss should have been just above the highs of the previous 4 hour lower high. So essentially I would have still had a 2.8 to 1 with the, as you can see as well, obviously did hit take profit eventually, however being stopped out due to a tight 40 pip stop loss. That was just somewhat greed, but also trying to get the high risk reward. This is all just practice and obviously learning from your mistakes. This is why I always journal all my trades and really work on what I can do better. One of the biggest ones for me is my stop loss size, which I've been working on a lot and it is getting better. However, you do just need to keep practicing, and you'll eventually realise different pairs require slightly more space, some require slightly less space for stop losses. So this is just an important lesson to take from this video really, is that stick to your rules, don't try and be too greedy, because realistically my rule is to generally have my stop loss above the highs, but I was essentially just going for too much risk reward. Because I didn't see price retracing as much as it did for quite a few reasons, mainly due to the weakness in the pound. So obviously, as you can see, it would have easily, quite comfortably hit take profit, and now as you can see the pound's falling even further. However, I hope you learned something from this. Let price retrace to where your level is, make sure your stop loss is in the correct position. Don't be too greedy with your risk reward, but still you definitely need to, I would definitely recommend a minimum reward to risk of 2 to 1. So with that being said, I hope you've enjoyed the video, I hope you learnt something, and I'll get you in the next one. Cheers. Cheers.